SharpGrade is part of a new market that has really been hitting the CTL industry, and it's designed specifically for contractors who are performing small to medium scale material placement. It really shines in hard to navigate areas, really tight spaces, places where a motor grader isn't going to be able to get in and effectively move around and make turns. It also really shines inside of buildings, up next to buildings, and anywhere you're placing material that's on a smaller scale. It can even work really great for culvert replacements where you're only grading out a small section and you don't necessarily need a motor grader for that small section of road that you have to regrade. It comes to a really complex construction site, and when I say complex, I mean let's think of it in terms of a parking lot. After curb and gutter is put in, there's concrete everywhere. You maybe have 20, 30 feet in between concrete curb, and you've got to regrade out this entire parking lot inside of all these little tight spaces and all these complex corners and radiuses. And then traditionally, that's done with a motor grader or a drag box. And in some cases, those are the right tool, but in most of the cases, with these complex parking lots and really intricate grading details that you've done, SharpGrade attachment on a CTL is a much more efficient option because you can get in and out of tight spaces. It's easier to maneuver in and out of these pieces of curb. It's significantly easier to move. You can move it from job site to job site very quickly. It's a multi-use machine, so it's not only a motor grader that places material. Once you're done placing material, you can stick the bucket back on a CTL and go pick up all your extra material and then stick it on the trailer and pull it to the next job. These attachments are also capable of being used on multiple machines. So if you've got one job that you need the attachment on, you can truck it over that job, hook up to it with your CTL, do what you have to do, unhook from it, and then truck it over to the next job and hook it to a completely different CTL that's been set up and ready. One benefit to running a SharpGrade attachment, specifically with some grade technology on it like MC Mobile, is the fact that you're no longer going to have a grade checker out there, painting your cut and fills in the area that you're grading out. And the reason that is a good thing is that is a chance for that guy, especially when or the grade checker, especially when you're in a CTL, it's pretty difficult to actually see behind you all the time. And it's an opportunity to accidentally hurt somebody when you're moving around and maneuvering in these tight, complex projects. And so putting the technology and these grading attachments on there where you no longer need the grade checker out there continually painting these numbers on the ground for you completely pulls them out of the situation of possibly getting hurt. SharpGrade's not the only grading attachment on the market. There are quite a few others in the space. The first thing you'll notice, especially if you pull them up next to each other, is just how much tougher SharpGrade is than the rest of the attachments. And there's a couple other things that set it apart. First is there isn't a single bushing or bearing that needs to be greased on a SharpGrade. They have a proprietary bushing system that is a lifelong lubricated system. You don't have to grease them at all. Another big difference is the hitch plate. SharpGrade has an adjustable hitch plate, and the reason that that's important is you want the grading attachment to be parallel with the machine frame, and if you can't get that, there are scenarios that you will not be on grade. Some other areas that the SharpGrade really stands out is rather than using a traditional motor grader circle with bushings, SharpGrade uses the quad grade linkage, which is far more robust and actually puts more weight at the moldboard rather than weight on the skid steer itself. The last thing I would say that really sets it apart is the ability with the grader attachments to cut in reverse. They're the only manufacturer that makes a grading attachment that you can cut in reverse and the traditional method in the forward direction. One example I have for SharpGrade making big efficiency leaps on a project was with Drennan Construction. It was up north somewhere, I can't remember exactly where, but they had a campground to build. And when it came to the placing of the material for all the different campsites, getting a motor grader in and out of these tight little spaces was going to be difficult. And also they were going to have to bring one in specially for that project and an operator just to do that portion of the job. And what they decided to do was set up a grading attachment on one of their CTLs and place all the material for that campground with that CTL. So it saved a significant amount of money, time. They no longer needed an experienced motor grader operator to come up to that project and actually put this stuff down. They didn't have to put grade stakes in. They didn't need slope stakes. It really did completely change the way that they would have normally done this part of the project, and it saved a ton of money and time. We often get asked about training for SharpGrade and whether we can come out and show you how to use it. And yes, we do. And what we find that for the most part, the SharpGrade attachments are so easy to use, and they've been designed with the operator in mind. A lot of the other attachments in the market, there's a separate third joystick that actually gets like suction mounted to the window of the machine. SharpGrade actually went through the process of creating little smart knobs that actually get mounted to each joystick. So the operator never has to take his hands off of the joystick. He can control the SharpGrade attachment without removing his hands off of the joysticks. And what we find is that the SharpGrade attachment is so easy to use that for the most part, it's very simple for people to figure out and learn that system. But if you have questions, we are here and able to answer anything you need.